Are you just getting started on a meat-heavy ketogenic diet, or are you thinking about getting started on carnivore? Anything meat-heavy to where you're going to be consuming more meat. There's certainly no equipment required to do these. It might sound silly, but you can do that with whatever you have in your kitchen. It doesn't require a big investment or anything like that. And contrary to popular belief, it's not expensive. Anything can become expensive if you make it that way, but you do not have to spend a lot of money to eat carnivore or a meat-heavy ketogenic diet, or as we like to refer to it, proper human diet. So, but there are some things that might make your life maybe a little bit easier. So let's say you get tired of eating ground beef all the time, or bacon. I don't know how you get tired of eating bacon, but you say, I'd kind of like to experiment a little bit, maybe buy some larger cuts of meat. At that point, it starts becoming helpful to have some tools to be able to do that. And again, this is to make your life easier, not to, nothing would prevent you from doing these things anyway. I'll just start with a few things here. Knife-wise, you can use a chef's knife to cut just about anything. Is it the best thing to use always? Probably not. This is a boning knife. I think this is a 6-inch, I don't remember how many this is, but anyway, it's somewhat flexible. It's not super flexible, but it's got a little bit of bend to it. This is super good for taking silver skin and stuff off of steaks, or if you buy the big pork loins, you want to get that connective tissue off of there. Something like this is going to be very, very helpful, and again, make your life a little easier. That work can get really tedious. Next one up here, this is an 8-inch breaking knife, and this is kind of what you would consider to be a butcher knife. It's very, very handy for cutting down or breaking down larger pieces of meat. So breaking knife is very helpful. Again, if you're going to be wanting to, cut through, the big pork loins, or even cutting some small steaks, this is going to be helpful as well. The next one is going to be a little bit bigger. This is a 10-inch breaking knife, and this is going to be something if you're going to be buying whole chuck rolls or whole ribeyes or whole strip loins, and you're going to be cutting steaks, this bigger breaking knife is going to be, again, make your life a little bit easier. You could do that with this smaller one. This is just going to do a better job of it. These, by the way, these knives that I'm showing you are all Victorinox knives. They're not high-end price-wise. They are very, very good quality knives, and they're very sharp. So if you're not quite sure what brand you want to go with, I would recommend Victorinox. And a slicer, I had not had one of these until about 2 years ago, and I started doing a lot of roasts when I first did carnivore, and I realized my chef's knife wasn't the ideal knife to cut like prime rib or really any roast, a ham, even a big ham like at Christmas time. So I think this is a 10-inch slicer. It's got the Granton on it. I'm not sure how much that helps. Just supposed to help keep the meat from sticking to the blade. I'm not sure how well it works, but the knife itself works great. So again, do you need one of these? No, they are pretty handy. They're pretty handy to have. So, and again, that's a Victorinox knife. So, and kind of move away from the knives a little bit. I guess one last thing, knife sharpener. These are all what they consider to be Western blades. These aren't Japanese knives. So most of your knife sharpeners that you can buy will work for these. I kind of like the Chef's Choice sharpeners. This is the second or third one I've had, the different model one, and they all actually work really well. So if you're looking for a knife sharpener, I would recommend the Chef's Choice. So getting away from the cutlery, again, you can cook a steak in just about anything. You can broil them. This is a 10-inch cast iron skillet. It's actually probably older than me. It was handed down to me from my grandparents, and so this is really on the stove 90% of the time. This really never gets put away because it gets used pretty much daily. I do have other cast iron pans that I use, but this one's really the go-to workhorse pan. So cast iron skillet's great for really just anything, steaks, you know, eggs, sausage, bacon, whatever you want to cook in it, they are pretty much nonstick. You take care of them. So I think have at least one cast iron pan. You know, you can go from the stovetop into the oven. I like to cut 2-inch steaks, and you really kind of have to finish those in the oven. So you can take that right off of there, throw it in the oven, and finish your steaks off. So next up, let's do monitoring temperature here. So we've got a ThermaPen. This is a quick read thermometer. I've had this thing for probably 10 years and I've never changed the battery in it, strangely enough. This is nice for just taking quick reads. You clearly can't just use this, leave it and stick it in the oven. That ain't gonna work. But I would say any quick read thermometer is gonna be ideal. ThermaPens are great. If you can swing it, get a ThermaPen. Doing roasts, some sort of remote monitoring is helpful. So this isn't even anything new. I've had this for a long time. The new ones now are just completely wireless. This is kind of the old school, still got the wire on it. Stick this in a roast, stick it in the oven. You know, you're monitoring by temperature, not by time. At least you should be. So something like that is really helpful. You can get a lot of good consistency with what you're cooking, and you don't have to worry about any sort of contamination or anything like that, or getting sick from the undercooking your food, I guess is what I should say. One other thing, or a couple other things here. Instead of using like a roasting pan, I do a lot of my roasts just on really what's like a cooling rack. Even like fish or anything like that, I'll stick it on here and just put it inside a sheet tray. You know, put it right in there. I usually line it with foil, and then that way it's kind of up off of there. It's not sitting in liquid, and these things get used. I think I probably use something like this at least once a week. So, and again, not required. You wouldn't have to have the cooling rack. You could stick it in there right on that sheet tray, and it would be fine. But again, just to make your life a little easier, maybe get a little bit better result. And I think the last thing here is, and again, this is certainly not a requirement, but I've been into, you know, processing meat, grinding meat for years, and this has got a lot of miles on it. So if you find yourself buying a lot of ground beef and you say, hey, you know, it might be cheaper just to buy a chuck roll or a shoulder clod or some, whatever the meat is that you like, it might just be cheaper to grind it myself. You can invest in one of these. Now this isn't like the biggest and baddest model, but it's made by LEM. I always just say LEM, but I think it's LEM. And it's got all iron gears and steel gears in it, and it probably weighs a good 30 pounds. So if you're gonna buy a grinder, if you're gonna get into processing meat like this, do not buy a cheap KitchenAid attachment for your mixer. Save yourself some trouble. Spend a little bit of money, get something by LEM, or I think Cabela's actually even has a line of really good heavy-duty grinders. You can do a lot with these. You know, grind meat for sausage. That's a whole nother video on sausage making. But yesterday I ground up a bunch of lamb. Got a boneless leg of lamb from Costco and made some ground lamb with it. And so again, not required to be on carnivore or a meat-heavy ketogenic diet, but it might be something you experiment with. It's like anything else. The longer you do something, the more you kind of want to get into it and dabble a little bit. So having said that, if there's anything that should be added to this, you know, kind of bare bones list of things, you know, put something in the comments. Let me know where I went wrong, where I went right. And again, none of these are required, but hopefully this kind of gives you some ideas as to things that might make your food prep a little easier. So like the video if you found this helpful. Subscribe to my channel. That would be very, very helpful. And we'll see you next time.